Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum badi ngolu. Alnal badi malamin jajun televe siri ngale jang. Mbe live stream le right now but na podcast mu samakum public radio lati. So be nga decide le canal live naka chabe dila men na bila wala munyinti election o member keri membina kela Gambia 2026. Being along ko Gambia la election is scheduled for Gambia la election is scheduled for December 5th, 2026, and campaign I'm sure is on. Hanna Taramam begin on the ground, Barry. Abekela Fenet me along is ongoing. Excuse me. So, Barry, jama jending campaign bedatila. Menka kumaya wala muka adati fenko like afanya the registration. So right now registration is ongoing in Gambia and until May 21st. The registration of the banana, and they are in many places all around the country. You have more registered. So no problem all more in Gambia, no problem all more registration of intolerance, in few places. But I don't know how or problem all how bad they are. Your ning nimmol fanambe kajakane in Gambia men fana ya yitande nako one of the major problems of the registration blood was about more age how many years la sort la jani be qualify no la ka carte or sort of ka voters card sort of in Gambia which I believe is 18 years. Gambia near Sanjitani say sort of eka carte sort of no le. It's a carte of fine no at 18 years. So what time we can register constitutional somebody more la wala nyam. Ko nimme Sanjitani say sort of bari problem mo nga mo registration o in Nakpoto this time around. Yeah, focus is centered around for a more register many along ko imam futa age nyuma comme ko tindingol imam futa sanjita nin seyma. So as a result ya fo be register la yala aussi fal ka aka nyo sabo sambanan. So something like that be nyo sabo sambalan ni mol mam futa the right age me ko be register la or can be considered as fraud. Another team member registration or batandi wala muning atara foreigner sol nata banko men be sirim banko ka wolu fanang ye registration card soto ya soto nyama maybe obekala question that mo si many registration okay or independent electoral commission maybe wala kala moti mo be wala nyinin kala men but so far mang diamu jama moy about registering like foreigners in the country. So but come in your live stream leti nimmeng bel la moy kam fanang and you understand the language that I'm speaking. I'm speaking in Mandinka, and because this audience is generally for people in Gambia who are supposed to be registering for voters card for the coming election in December 2026. So going back to Mandinka, mbediamu kan num manika kangola ni bari yalo ni mukachal te yalo ko. I'm inviting anybody, many uncle, you are listening to me, you have time to, you understand me and you want to join in the conversation, you are more than welcome to join me. And this is Lamin Jaju Ntelevale Jansamakum Public Radio, and Kacha mainly is centered around registration of member caring Gambia, left our Nimolia or winning Kacha. Ni may kuma soto je registration o bita ka nyame na bita ku kan ita mari la mira loto wara na mantra ta ku kan isa excuse me isa fono maybe may atinete la mira loto a mantra ta kan so isa joko nin la muir la si wo share no inshallah so yeah, and then nimem fanam bella moy kan chato be jang maybe say join nimem la join le si join no le and also stream of an ajoko you are relating to it, you think memem kachakan is interesting, and then even if like join the community, you can go ahead and strike that like button. And then so ntabejan nembel live right now and mbela fla rek mo yalon ko bela fla you can hear me and you want to talk about Gambia la election on the wala kachakan Gambia la voters card registration or le in preparation for the coming election or Mayalonko is going to take place in the Gambia on December 5th, 2026. So, ngawala sort of follow me around Bajuvela, Nimealonko, you are interested in joining the chat, please go ahead and, say you can join the chat, feel free to join. Okay, so, so akamunda wala mudrom badi ngolu jang alnal badi malam telami jaju sama kum public radio be be la frena ni men yalon ko be around ilaftanga kachan wole about the election of member here in Gambia. Election of member na kela Gambia registration of member caring abitaka nyadi le for abetaku kan fa mantra taku kan yo nga kibaro men soto retri wala mu nyinto ko few places be jela damen to yalon ko kole akol so nyo sabandingol soto taji about comme molu menu nyanta si la sango fudata registration o nyimma so yalo wo si falo ning wo ko be caring comme molu ko be molu register la me yalon ko isango masi asi diamo wulendi no yo bari natara momo to tate register le yenyim problem o tara caring and and you kuma so to simam share no program you are more than welcome to do so albadi malami jaju television some public radio. Yeah, so konga fo nyamen wrong alnal badi malami jaju televasiring election sama public radio mbela friend nalia kacha about registration of member caring Gambia abitaka nyadi le na abitaku kan maybe Mosa share ning atara dum fanang amantara taku kang itamari ya muneja keta problem motije isi wo fono sa kacha ya baringalo nako Gambia na registration o nyin be continue la le fo me karo men kono atil mo wan killing wado le mu registration o nyanta banna so e bajala ko ntebe men fola molie ni mem Gambia dingoti ndu sango ya si andun imari si taka karta o soto dukare mbe mo be dani la fond especially funding kewolu sunkutu wo kambanu wo momo funding kewolu momo e sanji tanni se aussi sita carte fayoma dukare mbe mo be dani la mo kana to siring suwo kono mo kana kato kana kola mo fe mo be wakili be montoro wate kili wate fulo mendila hanne mo siata fana rangoto ye wakili wolungo e fana ye wakili to ya decide ko wolun kai iba make sure la banku di ya kamala be registration o bondilale so yeta esi wakili esi rangoto ni sita rangoto ning mol tata ne lano futatema inshallah ngamira carte de dilalu be makola ka carte o nyin doku ya ka dila as long as ite mari ya la banku di ya proof no den woto ngamira ka carte so do manyan ka problem mo Gambia dun tol be ngalon ne ni lafta banku di ya proof la munal mu jama ID card better label yo birth certificate sitarable yo passport o sitarable yo ndun ni wol be fanandam mo budu mem budu nte dalta lon na nyame wala mu nyinde ko e bota sata o mento e kata wala alkalo ya warala konsimbalo ya kaito safe ko yete lonne yela alfa lonne yalno ko wuta banko kanne so as a result you kaito de there giso kaito samano le yewulo kaito de da ya jela so ni yewulo kaito de da den isi voters card no so wo mamra wo nyanta ke problem yo so bari nimmen sango ma si na ke ko bitay ba problem o so bari nak ku kilin ne be jente lafta ngam itan di Gambiano la police man understand because ñun la press release IEC la press release kabri ya itan de ko be supplementary voter card registration project ko ñin tamandi la yo ila kaito e men fo wala min ko momo ya lon ko e mari be futala 18 years by December the 5th donc mu election lungo natara wo lungo e tamari be 18 years sotala wo lungo then you are eligible pour ye mari ye register no yo bari yalon sometimes ko be nyamen banko civic activity inclusive especially Coleman Yalonko they are as important as voter registration yo kaje ko janning mansa kunda be embakla on the project you understand or even whilst they are it is ongoing you understand it is their duty to your population on sensitized you understand. You see, your population on sensitized, you aware and ko registration of bina kelale and a bekala wati jumale and the mindolel bekala location on the mall lafita register lebita damen to. And then in addition to that for nyanda phone or molian coming age requirements nyola ni osifa and coming nyanda kala banku dingolti before you are eligible. And you should at least proof of citizen kaitan de ko tam banku dingol ti nyanta proof no la so nima proof no then that means go definitely itamari te karta o soto no la but as long as you are able to prove it itala citizenship then amanya ka problem o de pour karta o soto no in Gambia So mbadingolu komba folale nyameng live stream langenti ni may na streaming you may if you come across it momo not to come across it not you are interested in getting in touch, and then we can talk about topical member kaja can be is coming Gambia election in December of 2026. Janning election of Sila, Janning campaign of Dula, mostly voter registration or kake. So voter registration activity is ongoing right now in Gambia. And then I stipulated time period also. So I believe it was April, early April, May 21st, the last date anyway. Yeah, understand. May 21st, last day of registration. So nimme yalon ko mari register by May 21st, then probably as you can later mari belafla misla fanko nyinnale registration o nyinnale, but I think men kuma radoro wala mu nyindi ko ka make sure ko momo be banko kan and imari come mobile duty lam because banko dingo yalong important abakele pour banko mo ka make sure ko ning things like electoral ning kusifal be keri mol kale participate. You understand? Because niajube mo jama be ku jama be la mine ware be la firim menna o mol bukala fla they cannot put it through buke mol buke la voice munyol moyno. You understand? So mol buke la voice nyol moy, and so as a result ibajala ko the only time that it will be opportunity so to know la pruni molie communicate is ning tarako come they will be come la voice ning can be heard. The only time will be possible nola is when they go and actually vote. You understand? So so we're voting dunta possible nola ni registration o month. You understand? Ni mol me register, ite lafla ite karta fay nola wo mu dunia dao daldi. So ibaje la ko momo whoever is interested, yeah, you should definitely make sure ko janning May 21st, yeah, you before May 21st, you register so that in December, MRC Fenkano, MRC Carton Fino. So mbadingolo akamunta hanisa file mon viewer soto jang follow bari nimme alon ko you are coming across, and if you can or maybe I can start speaking in English because it may be that the people in Gambia this time is late hours there, so there may not be many people who are awake to follow my stream directly from Gambia. But if you are in the US or in Europe or places like that, you should be able to follow my live stream. Essentially, the topic under discussion today in Samakum Public Radio is about the upcoming election, general election that's supposed to take place in Gambia on December 5th, 2026. So right now, there is, in preparation for that election, there is a voter registration that is going on. So the voter registration is scheduled to end on the 21st of May. In fact, today I was talking to a friend of mine, and I asked my friend, do you know anything about the voter registration, voter card registration going on in Gambia? Do you know anything about it? And then he said to me that no, he heard about the registration, but he doesn't even know when it's gonna end. Sorry, I asked him if he knows when the registration is gonna end, and he said no, I don't know when it's gonna end. I said it's on the 21st, and then he said to me, oh my goodness, I have to make sure I go, right now, and try to register. Otherwise, because his mind is not on it. So the reason why, that's just an example why it is the duty of the IEC, or the whole the government, to sensitize the population about voter registration, like the age eligibility for what age, how old one should be before you can be eligible to vote, which is 18 years old according to our constitution. And so if you are going to be 18 years old on December 5th, 2026, you will be eligible to vote in the Gambia. So this message is for the youths, for the young guys. If those going to school, high school, it doesn't matter. If you are 18 and you are in high school, definitely you should be eligible to vote. So maybe you should talk to your parents, and then they can help you secure a voter's card. So nobody should we should all make sure that our voices are heard, and the only way that our voices can be heard is by participating in the upcoming election and voting. Make sure, but also make sure before the election is up, guys, you listen, try to follow these politicians and listen to them, hear what they have to say, what are their agendas and their development programs, what do they wanna, what do they wanna do, when what are they going to do for the nation, for the people, for the youths, when they come to power. We should not let them off the hook, because there are a lot of important things that are ongoing. They may be specific, some may be specific to Gambia alone, the national issue in the country. Of course, a lot of the energy of the people should be spent towards developing the nation and internal issues. But also, we must not forget that there are, these issues are, whatever is going internally in one country can be one thing, but they usually are affected by what is going around the world, or, globally. So when we are in our countries, as we, try to decide to, the election is coming up in the Gambia, the Gambian people should not just think about the issues that are important, internal issues that are important, but also other issues that are happening outside the country, internationally, like globally. For example, this war in Iran has some, ramifications. It has, there is, the global recession, or some experts have predicted that there would definitely be some economic hardship coming. The price of gas has risen up, and I've spoken to a few people in Gambia, and they've told me that definitely the price of gas has gone up, and even the fares, from Serakunda to Brikama has also, gone up. So, and those are global events. What is happening in Iran is a global event, right? What is happening in the Sahel is a regional event. They are not happening, those events are not happening inside the country in Gambia, but there are events that affect us, either directly or indirectly, just like the problems that I have just mentioned, say for the price of gas increasing. That doesn't, all countries face that problem, and it depends on how, how prepared you, or how much reserve your country has, to withstand all those pressures coming from this war in Iran. So So what I wanted to remind listeners is that, as we as the election is coming, and let's try to follow, let's listen to these politicians, people who intend to, to run, in the elections. Let's listen to them and hear what their agendas are, and then we can also, if we don't hear anything from them that is of interest to us or that affects our lives directly, I mean, it is our responsibility, excuse me, it is our responsibility to ask them relevant questions pertaining to our needs, Okay, so when we are listening to these people, can we also listen to what are their solutions about the events that are happening outside the country? If those come to affect us, what are the safety nets, what are the programs they have in place to make sure they do not affect the nation extensively? So ladies and gentlemen and my listeners, this is once again, your friend, your host, Lamin Jaju, coming to you from Samakum Public Radio. And, I will, so far I don't have any concurrent viewers, but hopefully, this is my first video live stream on YouTube. And it is the topic under discussion was about voter card registration going on in Gambia in preparation for the December 5th presidential election. So, on that note, I'll go back to Mandinka and close this conversation. Thank you very much for your listening. So, Mbadingolu, murtanam back to Mandinka Kangola, Purka Nadia Kacha. Yeah, so akamundalo kudal mbe fo kan tuwa ko to wala min ko mbe funding kewlu mo me alon ko itema registration card so te mam voters card so registration of clearing jande me karotil mo ninkili ya try mo be ya try yeta ye register so that la voice la kamo membe diari be la firi men la community to as count no come this December election no membe na kala Gambia. So comme kachamu wolati ali sifinti ali ali futa station to dam dalo ka voter registration lal be damen to ali futema ali register and be ali pare pour ka carte fay comme December and alto la choice keta mo direct bi topico nying is not specifically amanke ma wuli nying kam pour ka support jube ka party jumal wara candidate jumal presidential candidate jumal be darija takatambi dol ma ma ko kama kachanying is just go comment ko nyum voters card ko nyum laftan ni mole wala kacha so mbal tentula mbal jayla alla la moy ku nyimala ala baraka bake alnal badi mala min jaju television ngal jang sama kum public radio. Bye bye. Could not live stream it. No, I haven't. Yeah, so but more about at least most of the movement because would be great if I can have someone. Uh, the other initiative. Mm. Oh wow. So like I was talking about the voter registration of member in Gambia. So and one of my friends from JaraNewsTV.com. Ala post Ndola Jube Kante regarding voter registration. Now, the recent claim that Gambia's use of voter registration cards constitute fraud or a system scam may sound compelling at first glance, but when examined through the lens of history, law, and administrative reality, that argument falls apart. So, Mala Kamuna Fujang about voters card, um, but so the arguments of the writer is that he said voters cards are not a new invention in the Gambia. They have been part of a country's electoral system since the early 1960s, before independence. To now label a decades-old electoral mechanism as fraudulent without evidence is not only misleading but dismissive of the institutional continuity that has underpinned Gambian elections for generations. Well. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of interesting in arguments or in but yalo ni la more la argument or like interesting back, So okay, to be honest, this issue of voter registration for yeah, initially I coming it's a practice me along traditionally we are used to it. That's what we've known. Kabintanga electoral polong in Gambia ngamello wolom people register to vote. And voter registration is kind of a near from widely Gambia acceptable as a form of identification bla jama. But the fact that now this question is coming up, some people think that voters card might not be necessary. I mean, it's a legitimate question because you don't sometimes it's not always like okay, so it doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes in life, things have changed. You need to also change so that you can conform with things. Otherwise, you are left behind. And then if you are left behind, loopholes um, mostly people who do not mean well will take advantages of those loopholes. So I mean, it is a legitimate debate pour comment kanyum voters card fangola kala essence ni kala whether it's even necessary is I think is a very legitimate debate. That's to me, you understand, because definitely voters card at a dama identification card may not be applied. Not all of the citizens are able to have a voter's card because they are not eligible. Unlike a passport, I believe every Gambian can have a passport, even little kids. If you want to, have a passport for them, I believe you should be able to secure a passport for them. So, but a voter's card, you cannot have it for anybody who is under 18 years old. So Ibajeloko Woto is an identification, Mea Lonko is not sufficient to represent one's national, probably to fully, it doesn't cover all the people it needs to cover. That's what I mean to say here. Yeah, understand. So, and Ning Ayatra, a national identity card can be used in place of a voter's card. Probably that's something one needs to look at it very, very, very seriously, because it is a valid argument, and probably you'll have a point, So, okay, this time around, not topical was about, people making sure that they go and, they go register and, prepared and ready to vote in the coming elections. But sir, I feel like going through this note, so that has brought up a new topic to me. So definitely next time I would want to delve into the national identity card, versus voters card, and so I'll do my little bit of research and then see what I come up with. Okay, mbadingolu, mbaltentula mbaljaila lala moikunyimala. Thank you very much for all those people who have been listening to me. I'm gonna end the stream here now. Thank you very much.